Good morning, Bravehearts, and good morning, Garfield. Welcome back to Marv in the Morning, baby. Episode 51. Designing a podcast for good old St. Nicholas. How you doing out there? Welcome back. Happy to have you. We're running late today. What happened, Marv? How are you 7 minutes late, guy? Duty calls sometimes. Duty calls. But yeah, I thought this would be a cool episode. Let's design Santa podcast. Everyone and their mother has a podcast now. So wouldn't Santa Claus have a podcast? Wouldn't the Jolly, is he the Jolly Green Giant? Or is that like a vegetable mascot? Either way, let's give this man a podcast. What kind of podcast would he have? What genre? What kind of guests? The intro music? All that jazz. Let's do it. Let's do it for good old St. Nicholas. And, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button if you dig it. Hit the thumbs up if you dig it. The notification bell if you want to continue to dig it. And, this is Marv in the Morning. We're primarily, I guess we're evolving beyond just giving podcast tips. This is something designed to help my clients and other podcasters learn the ropes, kind of teach them the ropes, and let them know what I know. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I had a lot of information and a lot of insight and knowledge into the podcasting realm. So this podcast was designed, well, I don't even know if I want to call it a podcast. I usually call it like a YouTube series, but it's designed to kind of provide tips and tricks for the medium, right? But beyond that, it's kind of just become whatever I want to talk about every morning, which is the barbershop style podcast that I warn people not to do. But essentially, I think I love doing this for the sake of venting and releasing and the therapy of it. Who doesn't like to hear themselves speak for an hour, completely have the room to themselves? I think everybody digs it, right? But it also is a great way to announce what we got going on in the studio, right? Because hey, it was Tekken Tuesday last night. Shout out to the Wolfpack, Matt, Will, Steve. This is like our gaming night, pretty much. That's it, pretty much what Tekken Tuesday amounts to. And it's always a good time. Always a good time. I cannot wait for we got Street Fighter 6 coming soon. We have Tekken 8 on the horizon. So a lot of great games coming. Debating whether to buy a PS5 finally or not. But and my PC is like getting old, so it might be time to invest in a new PC, which I'm going to be looking at soon. I'm going to be looking at maybe after the holidays. I can look at that and work my way towards that, right? That'll be a nice thing to do for myself. Nice treat, especially for my birthday right around the corner. My birthday is February 15th, so right after the holidays, a month goes by, and then it's like, hey, it's time to celebrate the fact that I exist. The fact that I even exist to begin with, right? So always look forward to this time of the year. Spend time with family. The vibes, the energy of people. It's a good time. It's a good time here in New Jerusalem around this time of the year. But we also got the Reese interview coming out tonight. Still have to record a preface for it. I don't know if I remember using the word preface correctly, but it's what I like to call it. A little preface, a little bit of who is this guy and what did I think of the interview itself. And Reese is an awesome dude, rock musician, Jersey swamp rock, very occultish, very New Orleans vibes going on with him. So that was a great time. And let's see if this weekend, which is, when is Christmas Eve? Is that Saturday? And then Christmas Day is Sunday. So if Christmas Eve, if I get the chance this week, which as the schedule is filling up, it may be harder and harder. We are getting really busy. Usually we get a new influx of podcasters around January because I guess most people have a New Year's resolution to start a podcast in January. But this year it's looking like February, December is our month of growth. Very, very much a month of growth. So we'll see, man. We'll see, bro. We'll see what happens and if I get to release that. But I have a Patterson legend that I did an interview with that I cannot wait to release this interview. I'm really very much debating whether or not to release it on Christmas Eve when everyone is so busy or running around and all this jazz, or waiting for Wednesday. It might be Wednesday. I don't know. Wednesday the 28th looks pretty solid. So I'm debating whether or not to do it that time. But we shall see. We shall see. But also tomorrow, I got to put together a great assembly of podcasters to debate whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So I have You Go Boy from the You Go Boy podcast. You Go Boy. And then we have Jason Enrique, First Class, Second Place podcast. Another movie buff. Both of those guys movie buffs. And the third movie buff I got on the roster is Chris Abalo from the Cape Pod, Chris Abalo's podcast experiment. So great crew. I can't wait to get all these guys together and have them network and meet each other. I don't think any of these guys know each other, so this is gonna be cool. It's gonna be really cool. So you can't wait for tomorrow. Even if we spiral off into other things, which I'm sure we will. I'm sure, but let's see what happens. Mondo hype for that tomorrow. Mondo hype for that. But without further ado, we got to build Santa a podcast. Kind of like Santa's workshop over here. Santa's podcast. Listen, Santa, what primarily, you think Santa would be the guy that'd be ranting and complaining about all the work he has to do in one night? He has to give gifts to everyone around the entire planet. I would think that this podcast would be primarily Christmas based, and it kind of would it be self-help? Would it be, this is where I will kind of just be brainstorming out loud the concept. And this is kind of what Santa would be doing in a mirror or with a group of his peers to discover what he would be doing for his podcast. Big Boss Marv, Tamika, sweetheart, how are you doing today? I hope the holidays are treating you well. I hope that you're not caught in any horrible traffic out there, and I hope it's not too cold wherever you are. Keep warm. But yeah, we're building a podcast for Santa. I think Santa would be the guy who, we all expect him to be this jolly old man, delivers gifts to everyone around the world. But I think Santa's podcast, I think Santa would be ranting and complaining and kind of going off on all the work he has to do one night of a year. Every episode would just be another complaint, another rant, ungrateful children. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think Santa after a million years of doing what he does, he's gotten a little bitter. And this podcast is going to be along the lines of, I'm trying to think who to compare him to, but I guess what's another podcast of a ranting old man? What's coming in my head is coming like Stone Cold's podcast. Kind of, not that Stone Cold complains about wrestling all day on his podcast, but the theme of it, I guess. Not the theme, the vibe of it. We got this old man who's past probably his glory days. You think, Santa's probably past his glory days by now. Any great movie that they would have ever made about him has been made already. He's not in his twilight years, because I think Santa Claus might be immortal, but he's definitely past the, I got to make every kid happy. I got to write a list and checking it twice and all this jazz, right? Santa is in a bittered place. This is my take on Santa's podcast, all right? You may have your own, which you are free to throw in the chat. But I'm willing to bet that humanity has not done Santa any favors. We all demand technology now. We're making him go from building little toys and fire trucks to building iPads and laptops. So he can't be too happy about that. So Santa's gonna be going off like, yo, I had to teach my my elves how to do technology work, how to build cell phones and and iPads and PlayStation 5s. It used to be back in my day, we just had to carve out some wood and make some G.I. Joe action figures out of it. Now I'm over here. I'm with a group of technicians and IT people over here. Yeah, Santa is going to be reminiscing mostly about his glory days, about, let's say from the 1920s to about the 1990s, where it wasn't so much technology in the things he built over there in his workshop. It was a little more humble, building Barbies and building action figures and fire trucks, to now, every kid's got like a cell phone. Kids are not really asking for toys that much anymore, or basketballs or football or anything like that. So yeah, he's gonna be a little bitter. He's gonna be ranting a lot about how things have changed, and which leads me to the music that he might use for his podcast, which I think he would use the Biggie song "Things Done Changed" back in the days. You know that song? That would be the theme song to Santa's podcast, which isn't very Christmassy at all, but I think it's a fair representation of how he feels about modern day society and Christmas in general in 2022 going into 2023. Things done changed. That's for sure, Santa. Santa's not happy about this. Like I said, he went from having a workshop of building little Pinocchios to building cell phones, and PlayStations. So yeah, the man's not happy. He's not happy. Now, so if he was to have co-hosts, listen, I think this one is kind of easy for me, you know what I mean? Because I think Santa's in a workshop with a whole bunch of other embittered and soured out elves. So Mrs. Claus, I think Mrs. Claus would actually be working the boards. She probably would be behind the scenes. Not that she doesn't have her own opinions about things, but maybe Santa's gonna be a little bit dismissive of her opinions at first, where she might have to do a spinoff and do her own Mrs. Claus's take. That's a little more peachy and happy. But Santa Claus is his co-host will probably be one of the elves, probably the head elf, whoever he has there second in command. They probably have audio issues. They're probably telling the reindeers to keep it down while they're recording. I totally picture that. Like, he's walking out of his shed like, come on, guys, again. Again? I'm trying to record here, and you guys are over here throwing snowballs at each other. Come on, reindeer. Rudolph, get them in line. Come on. What's going on over here? Get these guys together and keep it down out here. And what do I pay you for? You think he pays the reindeers? You think he pays the elves? You think he gets paid? How's he paying his rent? That's another episode of his podcast, for sure. That'll be another episode of his podcast. But he's got his head elf. I'm picturing I think there was like the head elf in the movie Elf itself. There was like this like second in command who I think had more screen time than actual Santa in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. That sent the elf, or whatever his name was, Will Ferrell, to New York City to find his family or whatever. That guy is co-hosting with Santa, and he's on the same mode as Santa, same type of time. He's not having it anymore. He's missing fingers. This elf, man, this became a very dark podcast, right? This elf is missing fingers. So many years in the workshop. He hasn't seen his own family in years, because he's building toys year round. So yeah, these are two men who past their glory days. They're past their glory days, and things done changed. And unfortunately, they spend their time reminiscing about when life was a lot simpler, the simpler times. That, you know what I mean? Make Christmas great again. Oh, are they gonna be those type of podcasters? Listen, no, I'm not gonna say he's gonna venture off into that space, but for sure, they're definitely gonna be eating the member berries for sure. Cool sweater, Marv. Thank you, Tamika. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is a little something for the cold weather. But yeah, so logo wise, what would their logo be? Let me think for a second. Santa Claus's logo, it would probably be him holding. I think he's gonna be drinking a beer in the logo. Like, no, that wouldn't be Santa. It would kind of be akin to this picture back here with him just speaking into a microphone, right? It'd be like Joe Rogan style, kind of just be a microphone with his face. For podcasters, they love putting a microphone on their logo. They're like, hey, check it out. We got microphones on our podcast. I got a microphone on my logo too. So what am I talking about over here? But Santa Claus. Can I picture him holding like a brewski or something? No, it would probably be like hot chocolate. I don't know what Santa Claus drinks. Eggnog, bottle of eggnog. Yeah, I could picture that. I could definitely picture that. Bottle of eggnog, a lot of red and green in the logo too. A lot of red and green. We already said for the music, he's gonna have some Biggie. Yeah, things done changed. But y'all don't hear me though. And for as far as guests, this is a kind of an easy one too, because Santa's gonna be wanting to talk about. He's gonna invite other holiday icons on his podcast to complain about the same thing that he complains about. So the Easter Bunny's gonna be there. Easter Bunny's gonna have his rants and raves too. He's not gonna be happy with the way Easter's turning out nowadays. People taking his eggs, looking all around for them all over the parks and whatnot. Easter egg hunting. Yeah, so he's not gonna be happy about that. And Jack Frost, and the usual suspects, around his North Pole. Rudolph is going to be on an episode, but it's not going to go well. Rudolph just does not have microphone etiquette, so he just does not know how to. He's sitting all the way back here. He's like, "Yes, Santa." You always get that one guest who just doesn't know how to speak into a microphone. And that's going to be Rudolph. Rudolph is just not gonna have good table etiquette, podcast etiquette, so he doesn't know how to speak into a microphone. And so Rudolph is just not going to be a good guest in general. They might not invite him back on. He might ask them too from time to time, like, "Yo, you think I'd come back on the pod, Santa?" And Santa's like, "I don't know, Rudy. I don't know. It didn't go too well last time we let you on here, buddy. It didn't go too well last time we let you on here, buddy. So I don't know. I don't know, buddy." But then there's also, the Halloween crowd. You might get like Jack Skellington. Jack Skellington might come up and be like, "Hey, remember that time I kidnapped you and pretended to be you for a holiday? Well, we're cool now." It will be like a makeup episode. You know how sometimes people, you invite guests on your podcast to kind of like make amends for past trauma. So yeah, Jack Skellington and Santa still have a little bit of issues, so they got to talk it out. Have a 3-hour long crossover special. Spin the Block is in the building. How you doing, bro? But yeah, Santa and Jack Skellington gonna have a whole episode just to make up. Like, "I'm sorry for the beef, bro. I didn't mean to. I didn't know what Christmas was about. I didn't mean to kidnap you and take over your holiday. I'm gonna stay in my realm. You stay in your realm. We're cool. Halloween podcast is gotta be pretty dope too. But that's for another day. So yeah, he's gotta have podcast beef too. So I mean, who would Santa Claus be beefing with on the holidays? You know what I'm saying? Thanksgiving doesn't have a mascot, but I think Thanksgiving is like the second biggest holiday to Christmas. You know who Santa Claus has beef with? Cupid. So Santa Claus and Cupid are always throwing shots at each other from each other's podcasts. Podcast beef is probably the worst kind of beef you could have with a person, because you got real beef. You're either fighting in the streets or something like that. But when you got podcast beef, when you're listening to every episode of this guy saying your name on, you're just giving him more listens and views on his podcast. So podcast beef is actually like the worst, because you have to listen to every episode, and then you got to listen through an hour of audio just to hear the part where they mention your name. So Santa Claus is there on his off time listening to Cupid's podcast, hoping that he does not mention his name, but also giving him airtime. So Cupid and Santa go at it, and mostly it's because they both have very commercial like holidays. So on Christmas you're spending for your loved ones, and on Valentine's Day you're spending for your significant other. So I guess Cupid is a little bit jealous of Santa Claus that he makes a little more money because it's a little more family centric, whereas Valentine's Day is a little more towards just relationships. So yeah, Santa and Cupid don't get along, and they have podcast beef, and they're always taking shots at each other from across the microphones. I don't know what Cupid's podcast is called, but and it's just to say the St. Valentine's podcast. Actually, probably no, that would be too much. I was gonna say St. Valentine's Massacre, but that you don't want your podcast to be called that. I don't think Cupid would call it that. But that's a whole nother episode, right? We could talk about Cupid's podcast whenever, man. But and then controversies. What would Santa say one day that would cause controversy, but unintentionally? I could picture with Christmas being a very religious holiday, or its origins being in the religious space, right? I don't think there's much religion in Christmas anymore, but that's not a hot take or anything. I don't really look at it any which way or whatever, but I could picture Santa Claus saying something that might be viewed anti-insert any other random religion. You know what I mean? Since it's a Christian origin holiday, or actually there's like a million different origins I've heard for Christmas. But one day Santa's gonna go off the handle. He's gonna say something about another religion that doesn't celebrate Christmas and cause a whole bunch of controversy. And he's probably gonna feel the wrath of cancel culture a little bit. He's not gonna get canceled. You can't cancel Santa, but he's gonna slip up one day. It just happens. You're talking on the mic so often. You're putting content out so often. You're going to slip up. You're going to say the wrong thing eventually. So, yeah, Santa's going to incur the wrath of some other religious group saying he's anti their religion because he said X, Y, Z. And then, it's like, dude, Santa's is gonna be a whole month worth of Santa. I wasn't saying it like that. I meant it like this. It's not going to be on Kanye level kind of jazz. It's not going to be nothing that dramatic. But listen, it comes with the territory. You're talking on a mic all the time. You're saying whatever pops in your head randomly at an exaggerated speed. You're gonna end up saying the wrong thing one day, and Santa's not really prepared for it. He's never had to deal with that, So he's gonna react weirdly about it. He's not gonna be prepared for the PR that he's gonna have to do afterwards. So. That's his controversy there. Him and other religious groups are gonna go at it for a little minute, and then everybody's gonna forget about it in 2 months. You know what I mean? Santa gotta deliver presents. He can't be on. He can't be on a pod. He has one night to deliver presents, and he has 364 days that he could do the podcast DX. This is selfish. This is the comment of a selfish man here. A very selfish person right now. But yeah, so Santa's going to say the wrong thing one day. He's going to incur the wrath of cancel culture. He's going to have to do all this PR and go on morning talk shows to kind of clear it up or whatever. So that's gonna go. He's gonna go through that. He's not gonna know how to handle it well. He's gonna go get advice from other people who have incurred the wrath of cancel culture as well. He's gonna go to Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan, what did you do? How did you escape cancel culture, dude? And whatnot. So that's gonna be his way of getting out of it, right? But eventually, and I wanted to cap this episode off well, because how do you end this kind of topic? Eventually, we got to talk about his retirement. Right, and it made me think about something in my head too, because I was like, I don't never heard of a podcaster retiring from podcasting. It's something you can do to the end. Whatever. I've heard people retiring from TV and retiring from radio, but then they also end up doing podcasting from their house. Joe Rogan gonna spoil. That's gonna be controversial too. Santa Claus inhaling the devil's lettuce. Yeah, they're gonna want to cancel him for that too. He's gonna have to do a public apology for that as well to the elves. The elves are gonna be disappointed, Santa, how could you? But yeah, man, eventually he's gonna have to retire from his podcast, and I think Santa will go out on a bang on his retirement. I have no reference for this because I've never seen anyone retire from podcasting. Someone who had been doing podcasting, still a fairly new thing, so we don't have a lot of old timers days, right? But I think that he would go out with a bang. If he was to end his podcast one day, it'd be all right, that was a little mildness of how I feel about things. This is the bang. He's gonna go. But I don't know. Have you seen the 25th hour with forgetting the actor's name, Edward Norton, where he's talking in the mirror? Yeah, just go watch that movie. And that's gonna be how Santa's last podcast is gonna be. That's gonna be Santa's last podcast for sure. So yeah, I just leave it there. But guys, this has been fun. Creating a podcast for Santa, designing it for him. It's pretty cool. It's Dipset Christmas time, and I'm feeling the vibes. I'm feeling the Dipset Christmas spirit. I got visited by the 3 members of Dipset in a dream. We went back to Christmas past, Christmas future, and Christmas present, and it's gonna be a good one this year. So thanks for everybody watching. We're 4 months into this. It's been a good time. We made it through the holidays. Tomorrow is the Die Hard crossover event. So we're going to be debating whether or not Die Hard is really a Christmas movie. We're going to have Chris Abalo, Jason Enrique, Hugo Boy, all these guys on the pod over here tomorrow. So look forward to that. These are my guys. So yeah, tune in tomorrow for the crossover. So first time we've ever had guests on Marv in the Morning. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it for today. Shout out to Santa. Shout out to Santa's podcast. I guess it'll just be called The Workshop, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I actually came up with a name for it. Maybe let's end on the name. Yeah, I just think they should call it The Workshop. But great time, guys. I'll catch you tomorrow. And if I don't, have a happy holidays. Have a happy Dipset Christmas. And I'll see you manana. And where's my button? There you go. Stay brave and keep on keeping on. Peace. Uh-oh, it didn't go.